This thing on? Yeah. Let me turn it down just a bit. I always try to watch the VODs and see if like the audio's good, but it's just so quiet in the odds, but it's so loud in my headphones. So, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while, but I've been pretty busy. I just got back from visiting my family. Um, I saw my brother and I saw my dad and my grandparents, and yeah, it was a nice like break from work and stuff. Um, Me and my brother went and saw the back rooms, and it wasn't like a perfect movie by any means, but it was definitely an interesting movie. It was not like bad in any way. Um, I just don't know how I feel about it. you know, um, it was a little long. I would give it. I would say that's my like number one critique is that it was a little long. Yeah, I was for a little bit. I was following along with the YouTube series, and I know about all that like liminal space stuff and dream core stuff and all that. It's pretty interesting stuff. I like that like analog horror that they have nowadays. A lot more psychological than traditional horror. So yeah, I'm glad. Like I don't really see a lot of movies. Um, so I'm glad if I go see a movie, I'm gonna have to research it, and I'm glad I picked that one because I felt like it was worth it. Um, so we did that, and just kind of hanging around with the family, I guess. My dad had surgery, so he was like recovering, and we were just watching this show called Las Vegas or something like this. I think it was called Las Vegas. Yeah, probably. We went to this theater where they had like recliners, and like you got to pick your seats and stuff. I'm like, they didn't have this when I used to go to the movie theater, you know? Well, that was like years ago or something. I only ever went to like the dollar theater. That was back when you could see a movie for $1 at the and maybe it was like $1.50 or something. But I'm not that old, for the record. They just had, that was a cheap movie theater. So yeah, we went and did that. And then like every time I go and visit, uh, it's this little town in the middle of nowhere, and but they have really good restaurants. So I was glad to go. And I'm like, I gotta go here and here and here. We're not eating at home. We're just gonna go, you know, to the places that we used to go and do those things. Um, but now I'm back, and I don't know. I don't want to work. I don't. I just want to sleep, and I just want to like look at you know streaming topics. And yeah, he had like some surgery on his throat or thyroid or something right here. He had like a big bandage right here when I saw him, and I feel bad for not asking about the details. But my dad has like so much going on like medically or something that um, I just feel like he's tired of talking about it. you know So like he wants to know like you care. He wants to know that there are people in his life that care about his health and all this. But I think he's tired of talking about the same stuff with like his health and grandma's health and this kind of thing. And that's fine. You think so? Yeah, I would say so. It's like in America, you're supposed to be like strong and healthy and, not let things get to you. And if you do, then, something's wrong with you. And they're nosy over there. Yeah. Well, people like to gossip too. I feel like, see this at work a lot. I work at the grocery store and people love to gossip at the grocery store. And I'm like, why do you care? Why do you care what's going on in everybody's life? It's like, yeah, y'all got nothing better to do. But it's not a big deal, as long as the work gets done or whatever. I just don't partake in it. Just like, oh, this customer this or this coworker that or whatever, and it's like, just do your work. Just get back to work. But nobody really ever tries to gossip with me. But I don't know if I'm standoffish or not. I have this job where I go and I pick the stuff off the shelves, and it's like online orders, and I fulfill the online orders. So I really only ever talk to anybody when I need something, you know, which is probably not the best way to go about it. but I got work to do. You know? Oh yeah, it's nice. It's nice because you get to go around the grocery store and see everybody, and you know, if you'd like to talk, which I mean, I'm not like antisocial or anything, but you know, you go and you talk to everybody around the store. Everybody else kind of sticks in their department. It's like the only job besides like management where you get to like go around the store and talk and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, some days it's nice where you have the time to go and socialize, and other days you have to like, you know, what's the word? You have to get it in gear. You have to like stay focused and fulfill these orders before they do before like the deadline and stuff. But weird grocery made you ask? Sometimes like somebody will order, you know, like 16 diet Dr. Peppers or like the 2 liters and stuff, or um, we had one time at my old store where you could tell it was like they were doing a science project. It was like 40 containers of that like Ready Whip or something, or you know the stuff that you like you go in your mouth and you go with the Cool Whip or whatever, and it was like 40 bottles of Coke or something like this, and 40 like packets of Mentos or something. So that was an interesting one. That's the only one I really remember. There's a lot of people that place the same order. Like I think you know everybody kind of has their routine, and you see a lot of the it's like same names come up, and a lot of the same stuff people are ordering. A lot of 12 packs of sodas, like super popular. Bananas, you know. Oh, does it really? I could see that. Oh, I didn't know that. You had trouble getting your. But yeah, we don't require an ID here. That'd be interesting. Because we do on like certain items, like you can't buy cough syrup without an ID. I think we do sell like canned air, and I think you need an ID for that. For like cleaning out your keyboard and stuff. But not the Ready Whip. That's oh, you know, they could be doing worse, but I don't know. Maybe just like the smell of the whipped cream or something. So, let's jump over here. Um, I feel like I'm out of touch with coding. You know, I haven't coded in a while. I don't know if I'm still good at this. Was I ever good at this? I don't know. For today's topic, do I have today set up? Oh, thank you. Yeah, today we're adding fog to the scene. So I don't have any resources handy, but the ps1 is really known for its fog effects. And it was a way that they hid the limitations of the hardware, right? You know, if you ever look at like a PS1 scene, you know that it's got low poly geometry. That makes sense. But when things are moving, right, you see like the vertex jumping around, like the vertices will wobble a lot. If you ever do any like research about PlayStation graphics, this is all like, you know, front and center. I want like a picture of the gameplay. So well, yeah, it was a way to hide like the limitations of. Now this is serious fog in this image. Oops. I don't think it's like that, but here's a good one. Can we do this? No, not copy. I want to open it. Where's open? Oh, this one. Yeah. But yeah, like you could like so they did a lot of techniques to hide the low poly stuff and the vertex wobbling, and you know sometimes you would get what's called T-junctions where you could like have gaps in your geometries and stuff. I'd rather have playful fog. You know? Serious fog is like you're like running from something and you can't see where you're going. That's serious fog. Um, and we're gonna emulate this. It's a really simple thing that we can emulate nowadays. And what it consists of Let me get, oh, I already have Excalibur brought up. Let me make this big. All you really have to do is get the position of some object in the distance. So like here's our guy in the distance. And you have the camera, which, you know, is like right in front of you, right? And you just need to get the distance from the object to the camera. So let's look at this from like the side. Here's the camera. And usually, you know, you draw that like an eyeball. You have some distance here to that object. Let's call that like D. Oh, that's a good D, that's fine. So the distance is D. And you want to, like, you treat the fog as, like, how do I put this? If it's really foggy, like if it's really far away in the distance, you know, the fog is going to obscure that object, like, completely. So all you would do is just take this guy's color, like its normal color output, and you would just, you know, whatever fog color it is, if it's way out in the distance, and it's really foggy, you just want to pretty much make it the fog color. If it's really close and it's not foggy, then it would be its normal color, right? So there's some mixing of that distance is going to tell you how foggy do I need to make it? Do I need to make it the color of the fog itself? Or do I just keep it where it's at, you know? And then it's linearly interpolated along that range. So at its farthest, right, you're going to have the fog color, which might be like white. Out here, you know, some white color. And then on this side, which shouldn't be, let me redraw this. You know, if it's really close to whatever, you know, you're going to have like a near plane and a far plane, then here it's just going to be the color of the guy. If we copy him over, oops, not his circle, but oh. Let's just say that, you know, whatever color he ends up being. Let me turn it down. Yeah, and all you really do is, this is like additive coloring, so you just multiply, you get some color out here, you get some vector out. And this, I always say this will be more apparent when you look at the code, but you just, you can interpolate between these two colors. So interpolation just means, you know, at 0, which we want this, you know, for close to the near plane, we want that to be 0. And at 1, we want it to be full, like, fog color. And you know, in this case, the fog color is white. So if you call this, so we'll get the math out of the way, and I'll show you how to derive this equation. And then we'll put it in the code, and it's really easy to see, like, how it's working and stuff when you get into code. But you have some near plane, let's call it N. I had my mouse set up in such a way that I was really good at drawing these letters by hand, but I don't remember how I had it set up. And you call this F the far plane? Yeah. Yeah, so they would do like tessellation and stuff. And in the fog, like in the Silent Hill game, from what I understand, they would actually, this isn't how Silent Hill does their, like, if you ever look at the source code, if they have source code, or if you ever look at like what the GPU is actually doing, they would draw like, you know, a normal quad or something, and then they would blend in like a shadowed quad, and then they would, I guess they would interpolate the distance about how, like, how much alpha transparency do you give this second like quad that you're drawing on top of the color. And if anybody's interested in that, then I'll post the YouTube video that I kind of, you know, here's where I learned it. I can't see it because the camera's in the way. It's like an Acerola ps1 graphics. Yeah, at the end of this video, it kind of shows you how how Silent Hill really did their fog. But we're going to do it a simpler way, and like that. like this project slowly turned into something that was not like trying to emulate, or it's trying to emulate the PS1, but not, but like there's some grace given to, you don't have to do it exactly how the PS1 would do it. Because you know this is on modern software, modern hardware, yada yada yada. Um, but to get like the D value here, and we want this to go from 0 to 1, where 1 is like full fog color and 0 is no fog color at all. We have to set up two planes. It's the near plane and the far plane. And then this D will be in between those values. So if you draw it on the number line, right, assuming like these will be all positive, here's, you know, the positive X direction, or it'll be the Z direction in our case. You know, you have some near plane here, you have some far plane here, and this is nice because it's only in one dimension. We're only going to look at like the Z part of it. And then you have some D in between. So maybe it's halfway, maybe it's over here, but it's, you know, somewhere in between this segment, you have some D. So we know that N, so D will be greater than N, but it'll be less than F. And it could be like right against F, or it could be right against N, but I'm not going to worry about that. But we want this value to go from 0 to 1. So this is just kind of like deriving linear interpolation for this. The easiest thing to do is, you know, we want this value over here to be 0. Well, all you have to do is subtract N from everything. N minus N will be 0. Here you'll have D minus N. And on this side you'll have F minus N. And then we want this guy to go to 1, so you divide by F minus N on everything. 0 divided by this is still 0. Your D minus N from here, all over F minus N. And then this F minus N over F minus N goes to 1. So this is what we have to do to get from 0 to 1, which we're going to use as our interpolation value. And then remember that D is just the distance from the camera, which you can easily get in TSL and stuff. And you can just apply this directly to the scene, because a lot of the TSL like helper functions and stuff are per like mesh or per material, or, you know. So TSL knows how to handle, you know, when I reference things like the position, it might look like, oh, well, it's the position of the scene. Well, no, it's actually the position of the mesh. So you'll see what I mean when we write the code, but this is all we need to get that interpolation value. And then you would just throw it in your like shader code. You know, you would mix between two colors. Your two colors are going to be the output color, the fog color, we'll just call it FC, and then whatever this value ends up being. So you just put that right here. In the mix, all it does is, you know, linear interpolation between these two things based on whatever this is, assuming this goes from 0 to 1. Which it should, because we kind of like did this math to do all that. Now you could have something that is like behind the camera or further than the plane, than the far plane here. In that case, you probably want to clamp this to be between 0 and 1, because, you know, if D here is bigger than F, you're going to get some number larger than 1 out here. So you might want to clamp it between 0 and 1 just to be safe. But I think it should work out that if you put some number in here that's greater than 1, it will just clamp it anyway. You know, it's here 1 is going to choose the fog color. Anything greater than 1 is still going to choose the fog color. Right? But just to be 100% like, you know, diligent about it, I guess, you would just clamp this value here before you pass it along to the mix function. Let's see. Let me get rid of this on the other screen. We'll move this over here. So the scene that we have is what we've been doing previous streams, and I modified it quite a bit off stream um, because I wanted to simplify it. There's a lot of like messing around with the material and messing around with the geometries and stuff, but I feel like that might be too much for a simple example. So what I want to do is simplify this before we start. Um, just so that there's like less to look at and less that, you know, I don't think anything, it won't affect anything that we're doing today, but um, it will definitely be easier to follow along if there's not so much going on beside it, if you will. So uh, here, you know, what this code did was kind of like replace the material on the car with this basic material, and it just got hold of the map and passed that along, and vertex colors are going on and stuff, but we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to get rid of all this. And the car comes with the material, it's just that that material needs to be lit. So you need to add a light to the scene because it's a standard material. So let's get the scene here. Bring it up to the top because we know we're going to need it. And then let's make a light. And let's just make it white for now. I think it defaults to 1 intensity, but I might need to increase that. Yeah, let's bump it up a little bit. And then I think we don't have to do this anymore. We can just go here. And here we get out the GLTF. This is where we were like searching for that mesh. So the GLTF has a scene, but you need to, like, if you want to modify things that are in the scene, you need to look for them. And we were modifying the car's like material and its vertex color, like properties of its geometry and stuff. We're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to add it to the scene as is. So this needs to get replaced with these. And then this too, we can get rid of that. We can get rid of the arrow. That's where the light was going to be, but we're not going to do directional lights. What else? Yeah, we don't have to do this, or do we? Oh, we don't have to name it. It does return something, but we're not doing anything with the value that it returns. Yeah, we don't need this. Oops. We don't need this anymore. Okay, that looks good. Oh, I heard this song before. Yeah, this soundtrack's pretty nice. It's from a arcade racing game that I don't know ever came over to the West, but I guess it's pretty popular in Japan. Here's the name of it, if anybody wants to know. And I was looking for a PlayStation racing game soundtrack to put on today, but I just feel like I've heard them all so many times. And nothing was really clicking, so I just went to the arcade instead. Let's see. So, let's do the fog thing. We're just going to set the scene's fog. You can get a hold of its fog node here, which is null by default, which, you know, when this shader gets compiled or something, or generated or whatever for the scene, if it's a null value, then it will just skip over the fog logic, I guess. But we're actually going to get in here and set its fog value, or its fog node, I guess. So, let's go back here. This is funny. Yeah, we don't need that. Here's what we need to do. So this distance is, I'm going to do it from the camera. And you can get a hold of the camera position really easily by it's camera position. So these are coming from TSL, which is, 3JS's way of like building shaders, and it's node focused or node based. So it just has these like, well, this is a constant, but you can just get access to the camera position from anywhere using this node. And I believe it's a vec3. Yeah, so you can take sub, and what you need here is the position of the mesh in world space. So I guess it's world position, or it's tsl.world position. And you need to subtract these because this will tell you what's their difference. Right? And that's your D. Well, no, not really, is it? Let me look at the nodes. Oh yeah, you need to get the length of this thing. Why do you need to get the length of it? Well, it's a vector, right? And the vector has length. So if you take two vectors, right? This is our camera position. This has, let's say this is the origin, it's pointing here. This is, any point in 3D or any point in 2D is just a vector to that position. And then we had, the point of the object over here. Its position is the same thing, a vector to that place in 3D space. And if we take the camera position, so that's C minus, let's just call this like O for object. These are vectors. Dang it, can't draw a good O. What I need is to get out my tablet. It's a lot easier to draw or like write on a tablet, but I'm just using a mouse. So this is going to be from C to O, right? I can't remember if it's like this or if it's flipped, but we're just taking the length of it, so it doesn't matter in our case. But the length of that will return a scalar value. And that's what we need. We need a scalar value because we're going to use it to interpolate between, like I said, to mix it between the fog color and the output color. So this is just kind of like the magnitude of that vector. So that's the distance, that's the D, that's easy enough, but we need to kind of store that, so let's make this a function. Like this, and it's immediately called so that, it's kind of like invoked. You can move this, away and then, into some other file if you wanted, but let's just leave it here for now. So we have the D, this is distance, let's call it. And then we need to transform the distance so that it is between 0 and 1. So that's where we need to do this part of it. So you take your distance and you subtract the near plane. We haven't defined that yet. I'm just going to use the camera's near plane and the camera's far plane. You don't have to use those, but I feel like that makes sense to do that. And then we should see fog no matter where the object is. If your near plane was like off in the distance from the camera, then, as long as you're at that near plane or in front of it, then you'll be fully like unfogged, I guess. And then same thing with the far plane. It doesn't have to be like off to infinity. You could make it, closer to so where you could actually see it, but as soon as you pass over the far plane, you're going to be fully like fogged out. So yeah, we can just use the camera near. That's going to be the N here. And then we divide. Oh, it just needs to be TSL. Yeah, anything that is like a node just needs to get prefixed with TSL. So you can import those like anything else in JS. You can do named import, or you can destructure it from the import. But I feel like having the namespace here makes sense so that you know where it's coming from. So that's camera far.sub tsl.camera near. And then we pass that along to the mix. But we can actually chain here and just use that as the interpolant. So we're going to mix, we're going to use that, and the two things that you put into the mix are the two colors. So when it's 0, we want that to be tsl.output. And then when it's 1, we need to make this a vector. Or maybe we can make it a color. Let me see what I got in the notes. Okay, yeah. So the output here is a vec4, but we just want the color off of it. We don't want the alpha channel. And then here we need to make a color. The tsl.color is like secretly a vec3 with some additional niceties on it, I guess. But you can actually pass in a like CSS color string here, just to make it white. And then this will be our final like color, so let's call this color. But it's a vec3, so we need to add the alpha value to it. So instead, we can return from this, which needs to return a vec4. It doesn't say that, but what we can do here is make a vec4, and we'll pass in the color, and then whatever the output, like whatever the original alpha was. Probably got an error. Output, oh yeah. Okay. What else? See an error here. Oh, it just needs to be position world. So anything that deals with position has a position prefix. Alright, it's not doing anything. Let's see. It's never a good sign. Let's see, what messed up? Oh yeah, we do need to clamp this. This won't fix it, but that was one thing I forgot. I think this should work. I'm not sure why it's not working. I need to turn this auto rotate off while I'm working on it, because that's distracting. Let's see. Okay, let's see. We don't have to like enable fog or anything. I think it's enough to have this here. For fog to be like on, way out and away. Oh yeah, that's right. You got it right. Yeah, I forgot to set the camera's stuff here. So you can see here if we like jump into the can I jump into this? Into this window? Yeah. So you have your near here and your far here. And I think this defaults to, like, if I'm not mistaken, this is 0.1, and then this is like 1,000 or something. So we definitely need to, like, you know, put that into like a smaller range. But you have to pass in all these other pieces and parts before you can get there, at least in the constructor. So the near, let's just say like 1 and then like 10. Yeah, there it goes. So maybe 100. The reason why it's like jumping like that initially, there's a fly in here, but I haven't been able to catch him. Wait, like when it loads and then you like modify the camera, like it jumps right here because the camera's like the orbit control's target isn't being set. But I'm not gonna worry about that because I have a plan for that later on. But yeah, you could see as the car goes off in the distance, it gets wider and wider, and as it comes in, it gets less of that fog color. So it's working, I would say. And this is based on the camera position. But 3JS has something very similar, which I'll show you. That is not, as far as I can tell, it's not based on the camera position. It's just based on the, because, you know, we use the camera position in this calculation. If you do this, maybe I just copy and paste the code because we won't dive too deep into it. So yeah, TSL, or like 3JS has a fog helper. And it's kind of like ours, you pass in the fog color, and then this is a function here if you ever look at the source code of it, which I haven't found a good way to jump to source code in this project. But this is based on just the Z position of the object. It doesn't really account for where the camera is. But it's kind of the same effect. Slightly different because it's, you know, it doesn't take into account where the camera is, at least for the near and far. It doesn't take into account like the distance from the camera. It's really just the distance from the like origin, I suppose. I think it is per fragment. I don't know. I don't know if this fog stuff is per vertex or per fragment. I didn't look into it. But I can show the code. I might still have it in my history somewhere. Yeah, so this fog here is right here. And it's kind of doing the same thing we're doing, where we're mixing between the RGB and then, you know, this color.2 vec3, that's just a vec3. So this is all the same, right? But if you look at this range fog factor, that is up here, and it just gets the view Z node. So I guess it is based on the camera, because anytime you say like view or whatever, no, that's view is for the clip space, isn't it? But I didn't go into this function or anything and see what it was doing. I just kind of assumed it was a little bit different. But to know if it's like per vertex or per fragment, I'd have to jump into like the scene stuff, wherever the scene source code is. And then for the ps1, I suppose it would be per vertex, right? Probably. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, this isn't necessarily free. I mean, it's not expensive nowadays, but it is probably doing a square root operation here. The Z value, right, is just like, you know, you've already got the Z already. Because all these meshes and stuff have their, you know, positions and stuff. You already got X, Y, and Z. Um, so I don't know. I'd have to compare the two to be sure that they are the same. Like put them side by side, but I feel like it's probably, in the best interest to use stuff that is built into to 3JS. So I'm just going to stick with this one and say that it's good enough. Let's make this like 50. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I had a feeling that was the case. Yeah, like Garud stuff, right? You just put it in the like vertex color slot, and then tell the ps1, hey, when you do shading for this polygon, use Garud shading. What were you doing? So yeah, this is it here, but I want a scene that kind of demonstrates this a little bit, like, without the user having to provide interactivity and stuff, like scrolling the wheel of the mouse and stuff. Let me turn the light on. It got dark outside really quick. It's probably gonna rain. So the thought that I had was, I've got these. Well, I got a lot more car models, not a whole lot more, but right here, there's like 7 in here. The one that we're using currently, I think, is the saloon one. But I was thinking, how when you play a racing game, you have to choose your car, right? And let me see if I can get a video of this. What's a good racing game that would show this off? Yeah, I don't know. What's a good like PS1? I mean, I have never played Ridge Racer. I've never played Gran Turismo. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because you have things at all kinds of distances, right? Uh, so this kind of doesn't show it off very well because we only have one object in the scene, so you're only ever gonna get like one, uh, like value for the fog, or like one thing showing the fog off. So to really like demonstrate it, my thought was like, let's put some more stuff in the scene at different distances. Um, let's just see what comes up. Racing game select car. Yeah, I don't know, but you imagine like, yeah, something like this. Ford Racing. I didn't know Ford made a racing game. Oh no, my headphones like disconnect and reconnect sometimes on their own. I think it turned the music off. Oh. Yeah, hold on. Okay, reconnect. And then the output audio. Yeah, let's try that. That's better. But what I want to do is make like a car selection screen. And we'll put these cars, there's only 7 of them, but we'll put these cars around a circle. Let's do like a top-down view. So you've got like car here, car here, car here, all around this circle or whatever, right? And then I just want to rotate that circle around So we're gonna put the camera somewhere like along this x-axis, like right here, and we'll translate the camera over there, and then we'll offset it a little bit so that it's kind of like looking, you know, there's a car that's gonna be here, whatever. It's kind of fixed right there, but these cars, like as you select the cars, all you're doing is just kind of like rotating that big wheel. These cars are all sitting on this like big wheel or whatever, and you're just spinning that wheel. And as they spin into like be closer to the camera, the fog or whatever like will slowly go away. And as they spin away from the camera, or they're off in the distance, you'll see more of the fog. Like it would be nice to have an object or something that spanned the entire like scene or something like that, right? Like a floor. You know, you have like a floor that is visible no matter where the camera is. But I didn't think about that. That'd be really easy to add though. You know, it's just a flat, plain geometry on the ground. So here, we're only loading one car. But we need to load all 7 of them. So, here's kind of the template for loading one. Let's call this saloon URL. So we got a hatchback. That should be URL. Let's call it URL. And then there's one in there that's a step van. Let's see how many I remember. There's one that is. I can't remember any of the rest of them. We got old, which is like an old-timey car, station wagon, sedan. Oops. Station. We have sedan. I like the sedan one. I didn't make these models. I got them on itch.io. If anybody wants to use them, I gotta remember to give credit to my resources, like where I get these things. It might still be in my history. Yeah, here it is. Let me put that in the chat for people if they want to use it too. Where are we? Yeah, so we got sedan, and there was like one more, right? Station wagon, step van, minivan. Okay, yeah. So these are the 7, is it? Yeah, 4 and 3. So down here where we load it. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to do was this like background. We don't have to do this way. There's a much simpler way to do it. So let me do that real quick because that won't take very long. But let's get rid of all of this. And now there is a black background. But we can actually set the background node the same way we did here. And all I really wanted on this was just like a gradient. So we can set this really easily. We'll get the screen UV, we'll take the Y value. Then like we can mix between 2 colors here as well. So we'll mix, I think it was orange and purple. And this will be a linear gradient. It won't be that circular gradient, but I think it looks fine. Yeah, so that got rid of a lot of code. And now let's load the GLTFs here. So what's happening here? No, wait. What's happening? up here, isn't it? Yeah, right here. So let's make a array of these. Where is it? I'm gonna have to clean this up. There's no multi-select or like multi-cursor in NeoVim. Well, there are plugins for it, but I can do block selection like this, but I'll have to clean up when I paste it down here. Oh, yeah, you have to put a lot of space here. Oops. Okay, those are our URLs, so that's what all the GLTFs that we need to load. But we need to map those to promises. So this load async, you have to do it inside an effect because it reaches out to like the source code of Three.js uses like fetch to get this to get this resource. And like this is server rendered, so there's things that it tries to access that are not available outside of the browser. So that's why we have to do it inside an effect. This effect will not run until it is like on the client. So all that is to say is that we need to do the promise.all here instead of outside of here. But here we'll take those URLs and we'll map them to a promise that resolves with that GLTF. So you do GLTF loader, load async, and then it's that URL. What you get out here is an array of the GLTF. So if you look at this type, yeah, it should be GLTF array, and it is. But that means that when we resolve this thing, you know, this is no longer single car, it's multiple cars, and this is resolve cars, but here we need to turn this into an array. And then all we need to do is just resolve cars. Down here, where we actually use that promise, we call load cars. This will be an array. And now we need to place them around the circle. So, I don't know if I should explain this too, but it'll eat up a lot of time. So to do this, where you're kind of like placing them around a circle, this will be in the XZ plane. So in Three.js, Y is kind of like, if you look at it like this, this is your Y, this is your Z, and this is your X. But we want to place them in the XZ plane. So this circle here, we need to put in the XZ plane. We need to put these around the circle evenly spaced. So the way that you do that is you know that around the circle here is 2 pi radians. And if you want to split that up into however many cars you have, we have 7 in our case, then you just divide that by the number, we'll call it C for count. And that will mean that, you know, like if it's 4, for example, it'll split it up into quarters. If it's, you know, 8, it'll split it up into 8 pieces. Doesn't really matter what C is, it'll split it up. This here will be equal to 2 pi, like this sector here, or like this, I guess it's not the sector, it's the angle here, will be equal to 2 pi over C. We need that because we're going to feed that into cosine and sine. And that, like, the cosine and sine will tell you the x and z position in this case to place the car. Like, We're going to modify the car's position, but we need to know where we're going to put it. And we know we're going to put it in the XZ plane, but we don't know those values yet. That's what we're needing to calculate. And you do that by passing this value here times some offset, or like multiplied by some factor. And if you multiply this, you know, if I is 0 right here, you're just going to be right here because this whole term will go to 0. If I is 1, then you rotated by this amount one time, so you went to here. If I is 2, you rotated twice, you went to here. And if I is 3, like you rotated all the way to here, so I, in our case, goes up to 7. You know, at the very last number, you'll end up somewhere like right here. So it's just like mapping, or it's like converting that, yeah, math. Yeah, all you're really doing is just finding the like polar coordinate of it. You know, the polar coordinate is some angle and then some radius. We haven't talked about the radius yet, but that's just a multiplication. And then you're converting that to a Cartesian coordinate. Because, you know, positions are x, y, z, and that's a Cartesian thing. So that's really all there is to it. Then if you want to scale this thing, because this will be around a unit circle, there's a secret like 1 right here, which is the radius. All you need to do is multiply it by some radius, and that will push these things out further along like a larger radius. It's actually pretty simple once you figure it out, once you realize how to do it. For doing things like around a sphere, it's a little bit more complicated, but ours are going to live in a 2-dimensional space, or like the positions will at least. What am I doing here? Oh, we don't need to do this. But we do need to add them to the scene, so we'll do for car of cars. This is cars. We'll just put them into the scene like this. Car. Now they'll all be all stacked on top of each other, but they should all be in the scene. Oh, I need to put scene probably before this. Oh, it's car.scene. Oh, I turned the orbit controls off, I think. Did I? Oh, I'm not focusing on anything. So the camera needs to be positioned off of the origin. So let's just translate this thing. Translate Z by like 5. So yeah, they're all stacked on top of each other. Now we need to space them out around a circle. So here, at the end of this loop, we'll increment I. So we take 2 pi, and we can actually calculate this outside the loop. This will be, I don't know what to call this. Let's call it A. It's 2 times math.pi. Or divided by the number of number of cars. So that's cars.length. And then to get the x and y, let's get some radius too. Probably like 10. So you can just set these things. You don't have to like calculate them and then set them. You can just do like car.scene.position.x. And this will be, oh, it's not cars, it's car. Yeah, this is part of a vector 3, that makes sense. So set that equal to math.cosine. What do we put in here? That's the angle in radians, so that's going to be A times I. I'll put that in here, and then we need to push it out by radius. I misspelled fonts right there. And then for the Z, we just do the same thing, but with the sign of it. And now if we zoom out, yeah, they're all positioned along a circle, or, you know, along the circumference of a circle. But we kind of want I kind of want them to face, they're all facing the same direction. I kind of want them to face towards the center of the circle, but that will be like they're all facing inward. I want them to face outward, but it's a simple thing to adjust for. All you got to do is say look at, dang it, I can't type today. Look at the center, so the scene dot position. And if we do that, yeah, they're all facing inward, but then to rotate them around, you just take it and you do dot rotate. We're gonna rotate in the Y axis, so it's like up and down here. Half of a circle. Yeah, like that. And the reason I did this instead of just like looping over I or something, because I have this setting turned on for arrays. Like you could do it like this and then get cars at I. But this will actually, I have it set to return undefined because I don't know why I turned that on actually, I can't remember. But accessing arrays like that in JavaScript is just like accessing an object, and unless TypeScript knows exactly what keys are in the object, it just knows that an array is a record where the numbers are the keys. And in JavaScript at least, an array is an object with numbered keys. So it could happen that you somehow accidentally, tried to access 500. If you didn't have that setting turned on, and it's called like no index access or something like that, no unchecked index access. Yeah, this. It will just, continue on, and TypeScript says, well, we just think that you know what's best, and you know that you're doing like careful checking of your indices or something. We're just going to say that that is going to return, something that is of the type of the elements in this array. But if you have that turned on, it says, well, you actually have to check and make sure that your result, whatever you got out, was not undefined. In most cases, probably don't have to worry about all that. But an alternative, if you do have that turned on, is that you can just loop over cars here. But you have to keep track of your index, like, to keep an index outside the loop and then just increment it at the end. To me, this is kind of like doing a while loop, in a way, right? In while loops, you would typically, while I is less than 10 or something, and then do your stuff here. Yeah, you can tell I don't use the QWERTY keyboard. Okay, anyway, what were we doing? So now I want to position the camera so it's kind of like looking at this, like this. And, probably turn down the fog. But then, this thing will rotate, and as it rotates, like, now this car is with the car that you're selecting, right? For this game that doesn't exist. Racing game that doesn't exist. So to do that, it's pretty easy. Here we translate to the radius. This is the radius of the circle. So we need to move this up here. And now it should be right underneath one of the cars. Oh, I think it's X. We do it in the X because we draw our circle here. The way that it does this is it, the cosine and sine, it starts at here and it goes around like this. This is kind of why I guess that the first quadrant or something is right here, and then it goes like this. So this is the x-axis. So we're translating, we're moving the camera to here. We know that there's a car sitting right here. And then what we need to do is move it from there, off of that so that we're actually looking at the car. Right now it's just in the same position as whatever car is sitting there, and you can tell like we're right on top of the car. So we can do that with another translation on an axis. Let's make an axis vector 3. Let's just do 1, 1, 1 for now. We'll normalize it. And then we'll go along that axis and maybe like 5 units up. Well, we need to look at the car again. So after we do the translation, we should look at the center of this car here. So we know where that's at. That's going to be, I think you can pass XYZ here. So X here is the radius and 0, 0. Oops. And then let's not do the orbit controls because that will affect where the camera is positioned. We gotta remove all the places where we make reference to the orbit controls here and here. Yeah, like that. But I want it to be on the left side of the car, or the other side of the car. So we just need to negate one of these values over here. Where's our axis? I think it's the Z. I can't remember which of these. Yeah, like that. And then let's zoom out just a little bit more. Let's close the controls so we can see it a little bit more clearly. So I guess right there is where we want like full, like no fog, right? So that would be, I don't remember how to calculate that, or if I did. But it would be the distance from the camera here to the center, I guess. I mean the center of this car here. And then the far plane would be like the one that's way out here. If you wanted that to be like fully fog color. Oh, yeah. I got one more thing I want to do too after we finish this part of it. Yeah, let's rotate this. So, easiest way to do this, I think, we can either rotate the camera, but we have to maintain this like position and this look direction and stuff. That's not too complicated, but there's an easier way to do this. If you put all these cars in a group, then you can just rotate the group. New t.group. And here, we'll add it to the group. Yeah, I couldn't think of a good way to show this one off. Because they are, I mean, this is kind of like really contrived, you know? And this is like linear fog, so I don't know. It's kind of like a weird scene, but yeah, I don't know. was trying to look up, what blending capabilities the PS1 had, and I couldn't really tell if it could do blending or not. Um, where you take a look at the pixel that's already there in the frame buffer, and then you do some math with the pixel that you want to put there. So you could do like, multiply them, or you could do like add them or subtract them or something. But I couldn't tell if the PS1 could do blending. Is that what you mean by blending? Let's see. Let me show you. These kinds of things. So this is like how you control, I think in the normal case you just overwrite that pixel that's there, but you can actually take a look at what's there in the frame buffer and decide what you want to do from there. Oh, I thought I turned that off. Oh, okay. So it's kind of like an alpha blending, I guess, right? Or not like an alpha blending. Yeah, I see it. Let me go into Nightbot here, and many times now I have to go into Nightbot here and change its moderation settings. So links will allow links. But it wasn't even a link, was it? It kind of parsed it as a link. Oh, I thought it was spamming. Yeah. Stop spamming symbols? Okay, let's change that. I thought it was a link for some reason. Symbols. Oh, I have it. Yeah, let's turn it off. There we go. So if anybody's lurking, here's the message that for some reason chatbot didn't like. Where's our, there it is. Oops. Oh, why does it do that? There we go. Yeah, so are they in a group? Yes, they are. But we added the group to the scene, or I didn't save it, but we need to add the group to the scene, so we'll do scene.addGroup. And now we can rotate this group in the render loop. So rotate it, in the Y direction, or like Y axis. So we're rotating along this axis here. It's actually like the middle here. So this takes in some number, some radians, but I'm just gonna do like some made up number here, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they are like colored like fog, but it might make more sense to put like a backdrop on here, because, I mean, like some mesh in the distance that acts like a wall or something, and then some floor mesh. Right now we just have, this background node is not being affected by the, well, it shouldn't be, by the fog or anything. This one's cool, I like that car. Yeah, let's see how if we add a floor to this, what that looks like. call it ground, right? I guess cars sit on the ground, not the floor. You wouldn't call your garage like the floor of the garage, right? It's the ground of the garage. I guess you would call it floor. But if your car's in a showroom or something, then I guess you would call it floor. Yeah, let's do like floor. This will be a new t.mesh. And we'll do new t. Plane geometry. A basic material on this thing is fine for now. Let's make this thing bigger. So we'll scale. Oh, I guess I need to do set scalar. So scale.set, but that way it will return the vector 3. You actually just want this like this, and then we'll do floor.scale.set. Or let's do multiply. Let's do like 100 so we can see it. Where is it? Might have to turn on the double-sided rendering or whatever. Or we can put the controls back on and find out where it is. Oh, it's not added to the scene, duh. Scene.add floor. Yeah, I'm so used to like moving the camera around. Maybe you should put the camera controls back on. And then like when we're done, then we could probably take them out. Orbit controls of the camera. Then we need to attach it to the canvas here. Controls, orbit. Okay, so there it is. Let's rotate it so that it's on the ground. Let's see, that would probably be rotation in the X or Z, I guess. Math.pi. Oh, it's math.pi over 2. Oh, not the scene, I want to do the floor. Okay, this needs to be negative. So yeah, that looks fine. But this thing is white, and it's not really has any texture on it or anything. There is light in the scene. But if we take this, I wonder if I can find like a really simple ground texture really quick. I'll pull this over here. So let's see, assets. Where's assets? PSX textures. You have to pay for that one though. These are all on sale. I want free ones. Free textures, please. I am not a human. Maybe if I go here. Oh gosh. Oh, there's only 2 pages. Um, anybody have some ground textures? I want to look for one. Materials, that might work. This is free. But these are models. I have used these in the other are these like in the other projects and stuff that I've done, I've used this assets from this creator. Are these tile, like, do these tile? Or are they seamless? How do I go to the page of the creator? Yeah, I've used this one here. Maybe we should search for seamless. Sky, abstract, synthetic, hex, and space. What is this? These might work. Oh yeah, look, some ground textures here. And these are seamless, so if they tile, then you won't be able to, well, they'll tile, right? But you won't have like weirdly weird edges or whatever, and the edges will be seamless. Let's get this. And I don't have any money at the moment. Yeah, what should we get? Let's get probably a smaller version of this. Where do I want to put this? Projects. Not there. Source, assets. Can I have textures somewhere? Thought I did. Let's go into source, assets. We'll open did it work? Okay, it did. Tries to open it with this emulator that I have. Oh, I think you have to do untar on this, right? Or it's tar xf. Yeah. Did it work? Yeah, I can see it here. It's this 128 thing. So let's go in there and see what is in there. Nice, there's ground textures. So if we want to load a texture, we'll need a texture loader. New texture loader. And then here we'll load in one of those textures and we'll put it on the ground. So we need to do texture loader, load async, ground texture. Oh, we call it floor texture, right? Floor texture. Then we'll resolve the texture. This is going to be t.texture. We don't have a floor texture. This should be URL. Did I lose that? I should not have lost that, but I did. So let's add that back. This will be the camera, and then the canvas size dot ratio. All right. We need the URL for the floor texture. What was it? 128 ground. I don't know what any of these looks like, but we'll just pick one. So we're loading that, we're not using it. So here where we make the geometry, or the mesh itself, we'll do load floor texture, get out the map. I want this to be standard material, so we'll do new t.standard material, or mesh standard material, and we'll just pass along the map. And here we'll use it. Oh, and then we need to return floor. Or we can just add it here. Uh-oh. Oh, it just doesn't need to be a function. Now what? Texture loader. Oh, this is import. Hey, what happened? Oh, it's a yeah, it has metadata on it. So if you use Vite to like do PNGs and stuff, this is the image metadata, but it has a source property on it, so we do that. But our plane is still white, so why? Why is that? We put a color here, let's say like blue, just for debugging. Okay. Should stretch this thing over the entire geometry, or the entire mesh. Well, that's kind of weird. Yeah, what we need to do is set the repeat thingy of this. So repeat, or it's the wrap s t dot repeat, and the t will be the same. So we could do this. Oh yeah, and it's doing the so it's one big quad or two triangles, and it's doing the affine mapping thing. And I guess that texture, if we look at it, it's in ground. Let's go to ground. ground 0, 1. Yeah, it's like gray. So if we do I cat of star, here is all the textures in here. So I don't know. Maybe just a grass texture or something? Probably want something that's dark, but none of these are like super dark. This one is nice, but I don't know. Was that stone? Yeah, that was stone. Let's go to miscellaneous. Oh, these are weird. I like this one. Was it 0, 1, 2, 3? So that's in miscellaneous number 3. Oh, come on. It doesn't look really great. If we add more, it looks like a circuit board almost. Oh, yeah, let's turn back on the fog and see if it's doing anything. Yeah, but if you take the geometry here and you add more segments to this, so if I turn the wireframe on, you'll see that this is just two, oh, I need to set it to true. Just two triangles here for that whole ground thing. You can actually control how many you have uh, with this width segments and height segments. So if you do like 50, oops. And this is a way that, this is kind of unrelated, but the ps1 could do like tessellation shaders, or it could, I don't know if it had native support for that or if people programmed it themselves, but if we turn off the wireframe, like the affine mapping won't be as apparent because we have more polygons, or we have more triangles. You can see, like, you know, we have so many that you can't even tell that it's affine. I mean, you can kind of sort of tell, but with like that big, with only 1 and 1 here, you can definitely see the affine mapping. Now we can also take this and set the repeat of the map. So we could do map.repeat.set 1 over the size of the texture. Is that what it is? I did this in the, I've done this before, but I don't remember if this is it or not. But I remember this as being a lot easier just in the TSL stuff. If you want to modify the TSL, you have to turn this into a node material. And then when you do the color node here, you do like texture, it's TSL.texture of the map. And then here you can modify the UVs. So take your UV and probably just divide it by 128 or something. But I think this looks fine. I'm not gonna worry about it. I just wanted to see like the fog on the plane, on the ground itself. And it's really weird. If you use a node material here, like, it's not being affected by this retro pass. Even though it should be. So I don't know if that's a bug or not. Because the retro pass is made for web GPU stuff. Yeah. Okay, let's put the camera back. So that gets rid of that. That. Now let's put the camera a little bit further down. I don't know. Like, this is where you would like fiddle around with all these numbers and get it to look right. Or you could use something like, you know, as you move the camera around, right, with the orbit controls, you could have it like displaying the position or something, you know, or logging it out or something like that. Is that it? Oh, what was the other thing I wanted to do? Oh yeah, I wanted you to be able to turn on and off the dithering here. Uh, so it was dithering and it was something else. But I have it in my notes here. Yeah, so I want you to be able to control two things, the dithering and then the color reduction here. So this dither here will make it a uniform. Dither enabled. Is it dither or dithering? Yeah, we'll say that that is true. The down here, where we use the dithering, we know it's here because it errors, but it's because the types are not necessarily correct. You would add, if the dithering is on, we'd add the dither. If it's not, then we'll just add 0. But this needs to be a node, so float of 0. And then we need to add that into the uniforms folder. So this doesn't really need to be a folder now. We can just do this. Set that to pane, and then this to pane. So let's see, we'll do pane.add binding. Yeah, I kind of want to make this a folder. So this is a uniform, but anytime that this retro is enabled or disabled, like that will show or hide more controls, or disable this one at least. So what we can do is put this into a uniform folder. title here will be uniforms. Here we can disable it. That way we don't have to do that right here. Oh, it is raining. You can't see the window, but yeah, it's raining pretty hard now. So here we'll do uniform folder. The binding that we have is for dithering. Oh, how do I do this? Forget every time how to... There we go. Label here we'll say is just dither. So retro is on, the dither is on. If we turn it off, yeah, you can see in the background here, can you see that? We get the bands here because we're doing the color reduction. So we get noticeable banding here, but with dithering enabled, it kind of blends in a lot better. And the other one that I want to add is controlling the number of bits per color channel. So the ps1 had 5 bits per channel, but if we want to make that something that you can control, we'll make a uniform out of it. So let's pull this up here. We'll have to modify things down here because it was kind of mixing TSL with JavaScript. We'll need to make this float. And this down here. And I haven't thought of good names for these, but they're being used right here and here. So this down will take the up, will divide by 2 to the power of bits, and then we'll seal that. Then we need to replace this with up.div down.4. And that should allow us to now control the bits. Let's call this uniform folder. Uniforms. So this is the bits, the value here, bits per channel, I guess, or color channel. Let's go like down to 3, and then max is 8, and then step of 1. So as I change this, when I go down, it should get less and less colors. When I go up, we'll get more colors. If we turn off the dithering, as I go up, that color, like the banding here, should go away because we have more colors to work with. So I might even go down to like 2. Yeah, you can see there's a lot of color quantization right there. And if I turn this off, yeah, all of these are disabled, which that's what I want. I could hide them, but I think disabling them makes sense because you can see, oh, how do I turn these on? I want to use these. Oh, well, I just hit this. But I mean, it's on by default, so these will show by default. But I don't know what it does when it actually hides them. Like you can do uniforms hidden. And if I toggle this, like it goes away, but I don't know if it hides them or, you know, does it just remove it from the DOM or what does it do? Yeah, it looks like it's still there. That's good. But kind of like disabled better. Okay. I kind of want to stop working on this PS1 stuff. The last thing I wanted to do was the fog. Yeah. Um. So this is good enough for me. It's kind of a weird scene, but that's cool. So my plan with this is write an article about it, and we'll cover things like the texture mapping, the vertex wobbling, the color reduction, the fog, all of that. It has been discussed many times in other like blogs and videos and media and stuff, but I kind of want to make my own little blog post about it. It's good to like as you work on projects, I think, to kind of you know, like reflect on them or something, right? But to put it into words or something, and you know, it's good to write about the things that you are involved in, I guess. Especially if you have like a blog or you have an audience of some kind. Um, and I think it's also a good reason because, you know, years from now, I could need this again. I might have some use case for all this PS1 stuff. And if I wrote it, then presumably when I go and refer to that resource again, it'll make sense to me because, well, you should write articles in such a way that they reach a big audience, right? You wouldn't, unless you're like targeting a specific group of people or something, you know, you should make your content very generic, I guess, so that it appeals to everybody and makes sense to everybody. Um, but I find that, like, if there's something that I need to do and I know I've done it in the past, it's best to write it down. Um, and then I can refer to it again. And I don't have to go looking through the internet or something to find, you know, how did I do that or whatever. Uh, I think that makes sense. You know, in that car model pack, these they for some reason you can get just the wheel. Like this is one big mesh here with the wheels included, but for some reason they included the wheel as its own separate mesh in that asset pack. I don't know why you would do that. Maybe if you just needed a wheel for something. But there's no way to take these wheels off of these. Well, we'd have to look at the GLTF scene to see if those are actually two separate meshes, which we can quickly do. But you know, working on this, it kind of makes me think like I kind of want to turn this into something interactive where you could like click on a car and focus on it, or you could press on your keyboard to like scroll through these cars or something. Um, but if the cars have to like drive at all or move at all, right? They're gonna look really weird because their wheels aren't rotating. So that's probably why they included the wheel mesh. But if you take a look at the scene, um, this is gonna have an error, but it won't at runtime. Yeah, let's look at the console here. If you take a look at the scene of this group, Oh, it is. It is a group. There's only one mesh in here. So the wheels are included. So it's like, how do you take off the wheels? Well, it's all just one big geometry. Maybe if you did it with the other... So in that, like, uh, asset pack, they had other models, like other extensions, like an OBJ or MTL or other things. I converted them to GLTFs because that's the preferred format for, like, internet stuff or, 3D models on the web. Um, so maybe if you looked there and you knew what you were doing, you could take the wheels off the cars. Or if you loaded it up in like Blender or something, with the blend file or who knows what, then you could probably take the wheels off a lot easier. In our case, though, the wheels are kind of like glued on. But anyway, um, so yeah, I think I'm gonna turn this into a blog post eventually, and that will be the end for real this time of PS1 graphics stuff. Uh, I don't know what I want to work on next. I don't really have anything planned, but I usually just find something cool and then I just try to do stuff on it, like try to come up with something that will demonstrate it, or just try to make a project, a small little demo out of these 3JS or graphics concepts. Um, that's probably what will happen. So, thanks everybody for tuning in, stopping by, and hanging out. Next stream will probably be Tuesday. I was gonna stream yesterday, but I was just really tired, so I'd stream today instead. But I started a new like contract job, and I do work on that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So those are my days off from the grocery store. Um, so those will probably be the days that I will also stream. I don't have a schedule necessarily, but if I'm gonna stream, it will probably be a Tuesday or a Thursday. So probably we'll come back on Tuesday with a different topic. I don't know what, but I'll come up with something. And it would be nice if I had like a Dropbox or something for ideas. Like, what do people want to see? As long as it's something that's not super complex or very specialized or something like that, then I wouldn't mind like having people do suggestions. That would be cool. Maybe I'll think of a way to do that. Doing that wouldn't be 3JS or graphics related, but it would be something that might be interesting to stream. Like making my own little site for comments and suggestions and stuff. And then if I did that, not only would it be like what I want to see on stream, but like how can I improve the stream? But opening up the door for that is kind of like, I don't know. I don't mind feedback, but we'll see. It would be like, you can only drop a comment or a suggestion if you say something nice before you do it. Yeah, so I'm gonna end the stream here. I will see everybody in the future, hopefully. Hope everybody has a good Friday and a good weekend and a good 4th of July, if you're from America, I guess. I don't have any plans at the moment, and maybe there'll be something here in town, like, a little... Everybody kind of does their own little fireworks show, so if they do that, I'll probably go to that. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye.